Okay, so I'm going to do a two-slide crash course in Bayer. If you could just read all that, please, and read that as well. All that says is nothing I've said here has anything to do with Monsanto in the past, in the present, or in the future. I don't even know what Monsanto is, so I'm not obviously allowed to make any reference to them with the ongoing purchase. So, of course, some of you may or may not be aware, but Bayer is a broadly based business in the pharmaceuticals, consumer health and crop protection or crop science area. In crop science, we regroup our animal health business. So I'm going to be mainly talking, of course, about crop and animal today. And the bulk of it is crop. And, you know, the types of activities that we get into, it's essentially integrated solutions around seeds, around chemical crop protection, around biological crop protection, and around services, increasingly including digital solutions these days. We stress very much these days this integrated approach. It's something that we feel is really critical more and more, that any particular disease or any suite of diseases, if you're just using chemicals or seeds or whatever, it's extremely difficult to manage it overall. The best way is to manage it with an integrated approach using a number of different solutions. And in many ways, not mentioning Monsanto, you know, the various mergers that have gone on, if you look at them, you see a lot of the companies have really ended up with a full set of these sort of technologies in their kit bag. So going forward, I mean, there's no need to stress for you. You've seen these slides before, the challenges facing the world. We all know the population growth, the fact, you know, there's a new Australia added every 96 days or something like that. I calculated once. You know, three and a half of them every year. So the demand is definitely increasing, and it is going to be very difficult to meet that challenge. We firmly align with the FAO approach of sustainable intensification. The only solution is to, you know, intensify agriculture to produce more food from less land, less inputs, less water, etc. The challenge we face, though, is that a lot of the technologies, and really there's no getting out of using technology to do that, are not readily accepted by the community. You know, people don't understand the technologies, they're not necessarily that happy about that. And that's where Bayer feels that sustainability is really a critical means of communicating on this point. And that's really why we feel SAI is such a great vehicle to talk about those points. You know, at the one time we can really deal with the actual technical issue, but also have a communication vehicle to communicate to the community. You're all familiar with the three different pillars, and looking at it in that integrated way is really the best way to address these concerns. About 10 years ago now, we did a type of an audit from our perspective of what were the key issues facing Australian agriculture in a sustainability sense in each of these three different pillars. I mean, none of those are very surprising to you, but I think it's really useful to do that, to take what is a global concept down to an Australian situation, and you really do pick up some differences. I think the terms of trade, the fact that farmers aren't subsidised here at all, really drives an intense need for innovation and efficiency. The changing volatile climate, I mean, you know, our colleagues overseas have trouble to understand how quickly things are changing and how important these technologies are to deal with that. And finally, everything around the skills base. You know, I think we lose roughly 10 farmers a day, every day for the last 30 years. You know, what that means in terms of hollowing out of communities is particularly relevant for Australia. So our framework to deal with that is, first of all, to, as much as possible, demonstrate the sustainability of our current solutions. Where we don't have solutions, obviously in the social area, we don't necessarily have products that work in that space, but we look to start programs where we can demonstrate our commitment in those areas. And recently, with the SDGs, we started to try to map how our activities match against those SDGs, and then we're going to monitor the progress going forward. And on your table, don't have to look at it now, but pick one up if you like. We're launching today here just a small report on our activities and how they match relative to the SDGs. So looking at it from under the three different pillars, under the economy pillar, our commitment or our approach is that Australia needs world-class innovations to make Australian agriculture globally competitive. And what we mean by world-class innovations is that they not only are proven in terms of the financial benefit for growers, the return on investment, but they are already pre-equipped addressing community concerns around these technologies. So this is not meant to be a sales pitch for our products, but they're just some examples of recent products. Serenade is a biological pesticide. It's one of the first two that have actually been approved by the APVMA. So in Australia, so for the first time we'll have biological pesticides that are registered for controlling of diseases in horticultural crops. PodGuard, it's a pod shatter reduction trait, so again addressing issues of harvest loss. A couple of our more modern insecticides that are highly selective of beneficials, so we've done a lot of work in IPM around those. And then switching tacks a little bit, trisulfan is our pain relief product, Australian invention, that's growing steadily and has got 2 new indications this year into cattle. So that's an important product for us as well. In the environment area, the idea here is to demonstrate our environmental fit to win support for sustainable modern agriculture at the community level. And again, here we've really partnered with a number of organisations to demonstrate our products in the field. We're a long-term member of Project Catalyst. It's 140 of the best sugarcane growers really working on better outcomes. Again, in the IPM space, we've worked with a number of different organisations to actually demonstrate IPM. IPM is great in principle, but in reality, when you want to put it on the ground, you want to have large quantities of bugs, you want to have biological products, you want to have chemical products all arriving at the same time in the same place. Actually requires a lot of collaboration between companies and agricultural suppliers. We've got a program looking at new ways of treating farm effluent called the Phytobac program. We're trialling that at the moment. And we're working in pollination. Actually, I know Syngenta's here. We're partners with Syngenta, Western University of Sydney, looking at pollination across different crops in Australia. And finally, in the social space, our commitment here really is in the area of rural education. I mean, clearly we need lots of new young people coming into the community. So we've got a number of different programs. Agricultural Vacation Scholarship with the CSIRO at the university level. We have a big collaboration with GRDC. We've had 11 new postdocs. We've had 22 so far trained in Germany. And with the Future Farmers Network of Australia, we've now had 3 global ag conferences. We've taken more than 100 young Australians to those conferences. So with the SDGs coming on board, the question was, how do these align with the SDGs? So we chose 10 of those and did a process of actually trying to indicate their impact against those 17 SDGs. Unfortunately, we didn't cover all 17, but we felt we're having a measurable impact on 8 of the SDGs, with a particular focus in the zero hunger, sustainable agriculture, responsible consumption, and then partnerships for the goals. I mean, most of these programs involve partnerships of one sort or another. So that's where I'll leave it. Feel free to take that. It's just an 8-pager. There is a link buried somewhere on the second last page. You can download a further 20 pages, which has got the actual case studies of those 10 different projects. So thank you very much.